In the southern part of our planet, where the sun burns the earth red, lived an ordinary boy with an unusually large head and an even bigger imagination. His name was Elon. While other kids ran along dusty roads and kicked a ball around, this boy buried himself in mountains of books as if searching for a treasure map. He read so much that at some point, the local library simply ran out of books he hadn't already opened. Elon didn't just read fairy tales. He studied the way the world worked, absorbing knowledge about electricity, space, and complex machines. His room always smelled of old paper and the hope for something grand. He would often freeze, gazing out the window at the night sky, and it felt as though the stars were whispering their secrets to him. One day, he got his hands on his first computer, which looked like a clumsy grey box. For most people, it was just an expensive toy, but for Elon, it became a door to another world. He taught himself the language machines speak, and in just a few days, he created his own game about space battles. He sold it and realized something important. If you have an idea and the skill to bring it to life, you can change reality. The boy grew, but his dreams didn't get any smaller. They only grew stronger, like steel beams. He realized he was outgrowing his home, and he was drawn to the place where the future was being built. Elon packed his few belongings and set off on a long journey across the ocean to America. He had almost no money in his pockets, but his head held plans worth billions. He took any job he could find, slept on the office floor, and ate the simplest food to save every cent. Together with his brother, he began creating software that helped people find their way in cities or send money to one another over the internet. When these companies became successful and brought him immense wealth, Elon didn't buy himself a golden island or a fleet of yachts. He decided to spend every last penny on what others considered pure madness. He dreamed of people stopping the burning of dirty fuel and switching to the clean energy of the sun. Thus appeared beautiful, fast cars that didn't roar with engines, but quietly rustled their tires, powered only by electricity. People laughed at him, saying such cars would never last, but he just kept working 100 hours a week. But his greatest passion was space. Elon wanted humanity to stop being tied to just one planet. He decided to build rockets that could fly into space and return, just like ordinary airplanes. The first steps were terrifying and bitter. The first rocket he built with his own money took off, and seconds later turned into a fireball, crashing into the ocean. The second rocket didn't reach its goal either, scattering sparks across the sky. When the third rocket exploded, Elon was almost out of money, and people around him began to say it was time to give up. It was the darkest moment of his life. He faced a choice: admit defeat or bet absolutely everything he had left, and he chose to fight. The fourth launch was decisive. A silence hung over the spaceport, so deep you could hear the engineers' heartbeats. A massive pillar of fire erupted from beneath the rocket, and it slowly, almost reluctantly, lifted off the ground. This time, it didn't explode. It climbed higher and higher, piercing the clouds, until it became a tiny, bright dot against the backdrop of black space. It was a victory. But Elon didn't stop there. He wanted to do what no one had ever done before: make a rocket land back on a thin platform in the middle of a raging ocean. People shook their heads again, claiming it was as impossible as making a pencil land on its tip during a storm. Rockets fell, missed, and exploded upon landing, turning into heaps of twisted metal. But one day, it happened. A massive steel tower descended smoothly from the clouds, deployed its legs, and gently touched the deck of a ship at sea. The whole world watched, holding its breath. Now space was closer, because the road to it had become much cheaper and easier to build. Today, this man stays awake at night figuring out how to build cities on Mars. He wants to dig tunnels underground so cars don't get stuck in traffic and connect the human brain to a computer to cure diseases. His life is like an endless adventure movie where the hero never takes no for an answer. He believes that magic is just science we don't fully understand yet. Elon teaches us not to fear mistakes, because every failure is just another lesson on the way to a goal. In his eyes, the same spark still burns that the little boy in the Pretoria library once had. He looks at the rusty desert of Mars and sees green gardens and transparent domes. Nothing is impossible for him, as long as you have a clear plan and a will of steel. The world around us is changing right now, because one man once decided that stories about the future should become reality. And the most amazing thing is that each of us can become such a dreamer if we stop looking at our feet and more often lift our eyes to the stars. For the sky is not the limit, it is only the very beginning of our great journey.